Done.
Perfect. It looks like we're recording. Is that correct? Great. Well, then I would like to acknowledge that we rest on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup people, where they make their homes and speak the Lashootseed language.
Very good.
Thank you. So first, approve agenda. I'd like to ask, hey, are there any additions, subtractions, or changes to this agenda that we need to make? And if not, can I propose that somebody makes a motion to approve?
Chair, staff here has at least one addition, and we'll probably cover some of this in the subcommittee report out. But one thing is we want Fred has a date held for sometime, I think in January, early January, for a couple of people to do an appearance on City Line. And so we'll need a couple of volunteers from the committee. And that's what I wanted to add on there. And
Will you say that one more time, Kala?
I sure will. So looking for a couple of committee members to appear on an early January episode of City Line, and they would work with Fred, our friend Fred at TV Tacoma, and myself.
Perfect. Well, and when are we talking about that in the agenda?
We can have it, under the Martin Luther King, so item number 4.
Perfect.
Is that Laura?
Yes. Hi.
Can you change your name?
Myself.
Oh, perfect. Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
It's good to see all of you too. Back in the real world after maternity leave.
Yep.
Welcome, Laura.
Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Thanks, Jessica.
I second.
And thanks, Louise, for the second. Now that the agenda's been properly moved and seconded, everyone who votes in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Great. Next, the next order of the business, the minutes that was sent out beforehand. I'd like to ask a motion for any to approve the minutes, or open for discussion if anybody wants to change. Hey, this is this wasn't recorded correctly.
I have one, I think. I'm sorry. I just have to find it. Gosh darn. Where is it?
No, that's perfect. Alicia, the floor is yours. I looked into Robert's rules a little bit better. So I'll try to be a little bit better at this democratic process.
Oh yeah. I know I need to study mine. Never mind. It does not need to be fixed. But I have been receiving emails for the handbook subcommittee, and I can still participate, but I didn't volunteer for that. So it's not it's not mentioned in the minutes from last week. I just want to make sure that they weren't, in case we had to strike that.
Acknowledged. You are not part of the new member handbook subcommittee.
Correct.
Perfect. Thanks for the addition. I'll kind of pause here for any other discussion around last month's minutes. Perfect. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, and a second.
I motion to second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Perfect. Alicia motions to approve the minutes. Can I have a second?
Second.
Perfect. All those signify in favor by saying aye.
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 All those signify disapproval by saying nay. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. And second order of business, check-in regarding mandatory open meeting modules.
I am the one who is responsible for bugging you guys on a regular basis about whether or not you have participated in any of the modules, and if so, have you sent a notification to the clerk's office? I don't know if we've gotten the quarterly reminder yet, so if you haven't received anything from the clerk's office, that's okay. I just wanted to know, I did provide that in the handbook and maybe one other place, and I just wanted to make sure that it was on your radar to take some time here and there when you can to watch or read the modules. So any discussion about that is fine.
Is there a timeline for that to finish it?
I think that they want within a 3-month period for you to at least have cracked it open and understand the basics of the Public Meetings Act and what your responsibilities are. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't done the entire number of modules myself, but it's sort of on the honor system. And if you do not let them know within a 3 to 6 month period of time, there may be a fine for individuals, and we don't want that to or for the city, sorry, and we don't want that to happen. It's a Washington state regulation that anyone who's on a committee that is engaged in public meetings is required to familiarize themselves with all the rules. You know, there's no test.
I have a question. I am a member of another commission, and I had to do this training in person. This is way back, probably about a year ago. Are these yearly kind of training sessions or a one-time deal?
Yeah, so Chris and Adela also attended the in-person training, I think. And so what I heard from the clerk's office is that it's not required annually if you are on their record as having attended that in-person training session. But I will tell you that just in case you're interested, it is a far more in-depth orientation with the online stuff. And so just if you have any interest in going in, and if you do, just let them know, and I can provide you with that contact information. So thanks for asking that. Yeah. Has anybody else been oriented in the public meetings? Laura, you went through that in person? Okay. Okay.
Through
That's
something
all.
else, but it still qualifies.
Yeah. Yep. That's all I had about that. Chair Chris.
Perfect. Thanks, Calla. Moving on to the next order of business, subcommittees report out. We'll kind of just go line by line. The first one, the member handbook review and revision. Stephanie and I worked on this, and we're really excited to kind of, give you an update. The new purpose is really the main thing that I wanted to share with you all and kind of ask for feedback, which I can kind of do one-on-one through email, or you feel free to also kind of open it up here. Previously, the purpose was the City Events and Recognitions Committee was created to serve as an advisory and action committee on matters pertaining to city-hosted events and special recognition programs. Cerc is responsible for planning, reviewing, evaluating events in addition to fundraising. The committee will engage the community in its fundraising efforts and will solicit corporate and private sponsorship to leverage funds for these events. I hope my monotone gives away that I'm not like super enthused or excited about the mission statement when I read that out loud. But the new purpose that we've kind of been looking at is, hey, the purpose of the City Events and Recognition Committee is to enrich the culture of Tacoma, promote economic vitality, enhance community identity, and provide opportunities for partnership between government and non-government organizations. Again, I'll kind of send out to each of you, but that purpose is kind of what I want to kind of just encompass our, in guiding everything that we do. And that could mean, the normal MLK Jr. celebration, the normal City of Destiny Awards dinner, or it could mean we're going to do social media or recognize the best social media, in the area and have kind of a recognition award this year for that. Or this year, we're going to focus on healing the heart of Tacoma and dismantling racial oppression through our events. That could kind of take the form of a lot of different meanings, but I'll kind of pause here. Is there any feedback or important comments, about that member handbook revision update?
I only heard the last part, but I really love those ideas, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, I emailed you just a small edit that I wanted to incorporate in there. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep, received.
I have a request or a suggestion, and I'm going to show you a document that I received from our Office of Arts and Cultural Vitality about land acknowledgement statements. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because I'm going to send it to you all, mostly to you in the subcommittee, because I think it's important to consider having this kind of statement and even other types of statements that are about the kind of recognition and awards and events that you are involved with as part of this committee. And so every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making a history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes for a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We are standing on the ancestral lands. We pay respect to the elders and the people of this land, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. Now, this is a general acknowledgement statement that could be used anywhere in the world. And to illustrate that, the staff in the Office of Arts and Cultural Vitality did some research, and they found a couple of guides, and one in particular, one is a guide. It's actually, a document that has like 11 pages, and it talks about different ways of acknowledging different groups of people and diasporas. But the one that I think is the most maybe understandable is the Native Land Map, which is a worldwide map that it's interactive, and you can actually go in there and zoom in on a particular area in the world that you're interested in. I'm looking at you, Adela. Might not be the United States. It might be someplace in South America.
Yes.
And it tells you the languages that were originally spoken there when colonies started to come in and displace those indigenous groups of people.
Super cool.
It's very educational, and I would just like to submit this document as something for the subcommittee to consider putting in the handbook, not to be the be all and end all, because there should be other acknowledgement statements as you discover them, or as you may already know them, you can submit them to the subcommittee. I'm just going to suggest that. I'm bringing it to you because we've had this discussion as part of our staff, and for people who are descended from the colonists that came in and displaced the indigenous people, it's our responsibility, I believe, to understand why it's so important to all of us to acknowledge this. So I'll let
So
you
it sounds
discuss.
it sounds like perhaps either, you know, including land acknowledgement, or, you know, kind of who was on the land prior, um, uh, that might be important to include in our mission and our purpose. If not directly, then at least through some indirect means, but perhaps kind of directly in that purpose statement. Does that sound kind of like your comment, Kala?
I would just submit it for you. Yeah, I mean, I would submit it for you to consider where you would like to place it, or if you would like to place it at all in your handbook. So I believe the Arts Commission may already have this in their documentation, but I'm not sure. I would just leave that up to you. Again, it's one of those documents that you would not necessarily, it wouldn't be your ownership, but it would be supporting information. I mean, you could also include a statement, an acknowledgement about the Black Lives Matter movement, or if there's a statement from the Latinx community that makes sense to acknowledge what they've had to deal with in being immigrants. And, you know, I know we have a commission on immigrants, and so anyway, I just wanted to give you that as an option.
Thanks. That's a great addition. Yeah, and I think, you know, in kind of in this subcommittee update, really, hey, just for the rest of you, we're kind of talking through exactly things like Kala, that's a really great addition. Any others, please bring up, because we're you know, we're thinking about not only, you know, what's our purpose, but then how, you know, how might we then start to operationalize some of that strategy. But we're kind of just at a strategic end right now. I'll kind of pause here. Any other discussion?
I think I would like to see some language like that put into the purpose, especially given the types of events that we support. And so I think if we're explicit and in that language, I think that it'll give our community a place to understand what this type of engagement means, and when they come into these events, that they're welcome and that they're seen. And if they don't really know much about, you know, the history that we want to promote, and these truths, I think that it'll give that audience an opportunity to do some learning before they come to these events. So I think that I would certainly hope that that's considered to be put into the purpose.
Perfect. Thanks, Alicia. Anything else before we move on? Cal, or actually, Luis, I kind of wanted to, since we only had 2 on the committee, I was thinking, hey, Luis, would you be interested in volunteering for this committee?
Yes. I think I actually missed my opportunity to do so last time, and I wanted to volunteer this time around.
Calla, what's the right method to make that happen? Do I need to hold a vote to add him, or can he just volunteer and it be done?
I volunteer and I'm done.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Cool. Well, then on that note, Luis, you can look forward. I'll send you a couple of things. And then, of course, I mean, free reign, you know, I want you to have completely free reign, but we can connect after this kind of about that specifically. And Stephanie, of course, too. during a, a convenient time for all of us. It's the holidays. I totally get it. We're not, not forcing anybody to work during the holidays or anything like during a volunteer commission. Second, fundraising. I believe Rosie or whoever from your group, do you guys have an update?
Everybody, so our update, we talked about having our 2021 fundraising goal be 10,000. And we also discussed what ways, like what fundraising plans could we have, what ideas. And three of the main ones was one, having set up like a general donation. So anyone year round can just maybe go on like a site, like we can have like a site and they go and they donate there directly. And then as well looking into grants for specific events that we want to put in. And then as well having like a silent auction that would feature Tacoma businesses and artists and do that virtually. And that is a mini update of what we discussed. And we wanted to know what you guys thought about that goal and then those three ideas.
Gosh, that fires me up. I'm excited. That $10,000, 2021 goal. Yeah. What? Anybody have any thoughts?
I was just going to say the same thing. Sorry, my lighting is really weird here. But yeah, it's awesome. Really cool idea.
I think as Rosie and I discussed the other day, we're really looking forward to potentially raising more money to get to 10.
Mm-hmm.
That would
Yeah,
be
it's such a yeah, that's such a great goal, Jessica, because you can set it and attain it and then grow from there. So
yeah. No, we're all really excited. It's going to be a fun committee. We'll do a lot.
yeah.
And one of the processes that we talked about in that meeting was also, if any of you, I mean, I know I work in data 24/7. So if any of you are in some way, shape, or form involved in fundraising and all of that good stuff and have access to certain data points, we are looking to create a baseline so that we know when to start these campaigns. I think we were talking about summer, fall, and then how your patrons or your clients are feeling in terms of giving. That way we know where to start, who to appeal to. You don't have to give us, specifics to your data because if you work within donor relations, you don't want to give out that information, but just any little anecdotes that you have experienced throughout the last, 10 months would be very helpful so that we can kind of just have a temperature going into the planning of that.
So I'll pop in on that too. I don't work in donor relations, but I work very closely with several nonprofit organizations with the city of Gig Harbor. And what we've seen overall is a massive drop off. There's a lot that people are collecting right now in support of small businesses. So, and funds, like our federal monies, our Federal CARES Act have gone to small businesses as well. So there's a real, in years past where we would have wanted, small businesses to give small amounts or even just the individual push, there is a real, hesitancy to give money to city specific events or city sponsored events, just because those are government dollars that are assured to us, and there's so many people having a difficult time. I think where we do probably have an opportunity is individual giving, and that depends. That could be a year-round thing. And there could be just seasonal pushes on why, or telling the story from the year before. And I'm not sure if anyone's super familiar with Humans of New York, but I love those individual stories that have a real personal, compelling angle, which is really important when you're looking for individual donations. There needs to be an emotional connection. So, getting out, creating content and sharing it to a social audience, I think is very important if we're going to do an individual giving campaign. And I think that's probably where in the next year our opportunity will lie in order to raise funds. I don't see a lot of corporate investment or small business underwriting happening right now.
Laura, can you, since I don't know if you noticed, but there's a whole bunch of new people on your committee here. And I just wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to say hello and tell them who you are and what you do. And you're just going to have to talk to them individually off, outside of the meeting so that you can get to know everybody. But this is a really stellar group of new volunteers. And I think you're going to be really happy as you start to talk with them. So if you want to introduce yourself. Sorry,
Sure.
I stepped on you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you, Chris. I have been on the committee for a little bit now. I think Chris and I started around the same time, 2 years, I think, just over 2 years. I had a baby in October, so I've been off on maternity leave, and the challenges of infant life. I work as the Tourism and Communications Director for the City of Gig Harbor. So I work in city government, just over the bridge, and with several nonprofit organizations. We also do a fair amount of grant writing for nonprofit events that happen throughout the year on that side. So I have a little bit of a frame of reference there. My background lies in marketing and PR, mostly for tourism related things, airlines, large events, and lived in New York and LA for several years before moving back home. So that's my background, and marketing, PR, events, a little bit of data, and some nonprofit experience as well, for a major musical theater production in Houston, Texas. So that's where a lot of my my nonprofit direct experience comes from as well. Wonderful to meet you all. I'm scrolling through and just seeing new people's faces and hearing amazing ideas. So I'm so excited to have some fresh breaths of air on this committee. Yay.
Yeah, this group is awesome. And it's so good to see you. It just made my
Yay,
night.
you too.
Oh, it's Adela. Hey, Adela. Speaking of, actually, I heard, Laura, from you, kind of that emotional connection, to our events and our awardees. Adela, I know you and Kala had been briefly talking about social media. Either Kala or Adela, can you kind of give an update to the, speaking of, it's kind of related to fundraising in that way. I'll tie it back to the agenda. Can you kind of talk about social media?
Yeah, Kala, do you have an update, or do you want me to start?
Yeah.
And then you update us? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, totally talking over you. Well, I had asked, we actually, I think it was Chris, when we were chatting on the phone after our last meeting, we were wondering if there was a way to have a social media page just to advertise all this great stuff that we're doing, and all this new breath of energy that everybody here is bringing into the group, because already just the energy and the 15 minutes I've been on the call is just so incredible. And so I'll defer to Kala, but I think that the update is, Kala, you were looking into to whether we can have like a shared, oh my gosh, sorry, apologies for the background noise, a shared social media page with a couple of other committees in Tacoma and your actual group with the city. Is that correct?
Tammy, are you still on the call? Oh, there you are.
Yes.
So Tammy is our manager for Tacoma venues and events and all the marketing and social media. And so she has a staff of people who work on that stuff. And do you want to just talk a little bit about our internal discussion with you and Emily that we had last week?
Sure. So Emily, who works in my department, actually is our hands-on social media person and manages our databases. And so Kala came to us with this suggestion, and we think it's a great idea. One of the challenges will be building an audience. And so our thoughts on it was to include it as part of a Tacoma venues and events social media channels, so that we could include other events that we're doing within our department, and some of the stuff that's going on in our venues. And it would enable us to be able to grow that audience quicker, I think, because one of the difficulties is having enough content in order to engage enough people to want to follow. So that's how we think we can tackle it. I think by January, we would have a full plan on how we would go about growing that audience and how we could use your participation to help us with that.
Awesome idea. I love it. That'd be really great. And then if I may say, Chris, one of the things that we're going to do is ask this group if there's someone who would like to volunteer. We would love to have someone from this group be kind of the representative to work with the rest of the folks on generating that content for us.
Mm-hmm. One thing you may have seen too recently, I think it started during Tacoma Arts Month in October. They had the arts commissioners did kind of takeovers of their social media channels, and that was really successful, and they're continuing to do it now. I think the original plan was just to do it for October, but it was so successful they're continuing to do it. So I think in as much as you all would like to be out there in the public, we would certainly welcome having you provide us with content and being out on the streets or sharing the work that you're doing.
That'd be a fun idea. So like a takeover during the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, say, or that'd be really fun.
I would love to volunteer to help with like creating a calendar for us, because I think calendars, knowing where you're going to post is like a really important thing. Just you can hone in on this is an important day. We can use this content for a week or a month, or depends on what the event is. But I also think the takeovers are really important. I followed a lot of social media pages, whether it's like a yoga studio or a city or just, you know, a coffee shop even, who lets each of their people kind of bring something to the table. So it is a takeover. So everyone kind of gets to put their own thing. So it's like, hi, I'm Jessica. This week I'm taking over the CRC, you know, events page, and this is what I see. And then, you know, next week Tammy does it. Next week Alicia does it, so on and so forth. And just kind of changing it out. I think that does make it interesting, kind of introduces us to a certain, or to everyone. But I like that idea. So I second that.
I love
I
that.
love it. Sounds great. Can we follow up with you all that are interested in work together with you on something like that? I don't know if that
I'm definitely interested.
Or
how about so is that Tammy I hear asking that question?
Yes.
Tammy,
yes,
thank you so much for kind of
that would be.
We're on a delay now. Sorry. I meant to just say, yeah, thank you for the work that you've done so far on behalf of our committee. Because I think that's going to be really key for, you know, our fundraising. And your, it sounds like you said that you would have kind of a proposed plan for us by January. Did I hear that correctly?
Tammy, did you hear that?
I'm sorry, my internet is a little bit unstable right now.
Like what mine was doing earlier.
I think I heard part of it.
I'll repeat back. It sounded, I asked the question, hey, did I hear that you said that you would have a kind of a proposed plan on social media and how the City Events and Recognition Committee would be incorporated into that plan?
Yes, so we spoke with Kala, and I think by the January meeting, we'd like to have a plan together. But hearing also some ideas from the committee, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for us to have some further discussion with you, with some of the people who've expressed interest, to help us formulate that plan.
Sure. I guess after the meeting, if Jessica, it sounds okay with you, we'll put you and Tammy into contact with one another. My ask outside of, Jessica, this may fall into your lane or maybe not, but perhaps create, between you and Tammy, create a plan that allows submissions from the rest of the, members of the city event, as we're experiencing our duties, and perhaps, a way that really encourages group member involvement for posts. Perfect.
That sounds good.
So
yeah, I think that's key to have everyone involved. So
sure. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on fundraising? Oh, Kala, I wanted to. Did you have any things as you thought about compliance and things that, did fundraising and compliance ever come up? Is there anything you'd like to add on that front?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think I probably brought it up at the subcommittee meeting. Rosie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was getting kind of into the weeds about how budget works for the city, and so I need to talk with Adam and Kim a little bit about what Tacoma Venues and Events being a different type of department with we're an enterprise fund, and everything else that I've ever lived within with budget is general government. So I have put in some line items for income or revenue based on what we've been able to get from like TPU, Tacoma Public Utilities, in the past when they do their community support. But if there's going to be 10,000 or 15 or 20,000 raised during an annual period, I need to look into how to make that happen. So that's something that I'm going to take on because it's a little bit of a mystery. You have to appropriate funds to be able to use them directly for the work that you do. It can't just be put into general funds and not have a line item associated with it. It's kind of wonky and doesn't make a lot of sense. But grants are a good model, and we do grants, and sponsorships are a good model, and we have sponsorships for the Dome and the Convention Center. So I'm going to look into that with some of my colleagues. That answered your question? That was long-winded, sorry.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
Okay.
I heard general fund probably won't work, but specific line item funding like grants or something else may be the right direction there.
Yeah.
Complete favorite discussion to have because it squashes on ideas. And that's the last thing I want to encourage, working ideas right now. So next, I'll move on to exploring new event possibilities. There's no real update here as of now. I thought about trying to table it, but no, the update is there is no update at this point. I think there's more than enough work to be done within our subcommittees for right now before we branch out and make additional work. I'll pause here though for open discussion. Does anyone have a different update or maybe additional feedback there?
I was exploring the city's website a few weeks ago, and I think that one of the council member committees had an update on Juneteenth celebrations or a declaration on Juneteenth as a city holiday. And I recall maybe seeing the city and events of recognition being listed there as an item in their agenda. So I'm sure you guys are collaborating with them, but I wanted to know, or I don't know, maybe they expected you to be collaborating with them based on some of the faces I saw right now. But my question is, are they expecting us to move on this? Are council members expecting us to move on this? And if so, are they aware that we're going to table this for a little bit of time?
I can answer that for you, Chris, if you like.
Please.
They are aware. I let Linda Foster, who is the staff liaison to the Economic Development Committee, that there would be a delay in presenting a proposal because there were so many new faces and so many new ideas that you really need to have some time to get to know each other and maybe toss those ideas around. It's not too early to start having that discussion. But know that it's going to be a long process to get to the point where you can actually hold the event, right? It's a work in progress. So yes, you're right. There was a discussion about Juneteenth at one of the meetings, and I can't remember which one it is either. But yeah, so they are aware of it. They know now that we had put a delay on it.
A quick a quick follow-up is, so is this an agenda item that was added on their commission meeting upon our request, or are they
Yes.
very interested in pursuing this idea? Because I like when council members are on board, because it makes our job easier. So I want to make sure we take advantage of that. Because if it's an events and recognition committee idea, and maybe there isn't the right moment or acceptance in the council, we might spend a lot of energy trying to put together something that it's going to be much more difficult to pass. So I want to kind of get a gauge of what the interest level is in the committee of council members and timeline.
Gotcha. So yes, they are interested. And Juneteenth and the Latinx celebration have been brought to their attention. The mayor also suggested Indigenous Peoples Day. So that's another possibility. And they are expecting, and I'll tell you this because I've already told Chris this in the past, but when you bring something to them, just as you're saying, Luis, you really need to come with a very sound plan for fundraising, for cost expectation, for community groups that you're going to work with to put this on. It isn't just you doing everything. It's that you really need to develop those community alignments, and you already have the Latinx celebration alignment yourself. Juneteenth is just something that is very supported by the community and has been discussed for years, honestly. So they're ready to hear about it. They just want a really sound proposal so they can make some decisions about funding in this difficult biennium that we're entering. So.
Oh, that's great. That's a good update, Luis. Thanks for the question there. You know, on that note, I'm you know, not really, you know, unless someone has a specific suggestion on how to proceed with Juneteenth, I still think maybe January may be a better meeting to focus, or February may be a better meeting to focus on starting an initiative towards you know, planning. But I'll pause here. Does anybody have any other you know thoughts?
What does it take for us to get Juneteenth going? What do we what are the action steps?
Well, Chris, how far did you get on your proposal?
Yeah, so there's essentially, Jessica, the documents that I worked on, and I'm happy to kind of send them over to anybody who you know asks for them through email and kind of the current role. But you're looking at a Microsoft Word document that kind of lays out, you know, at least for us, it was an informational request, so just to kind of like, hey, city council, that gets us on the agenda, is that Microsoft Word document. And then we, you know, informational, we can kind of just describe, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at. We're looking on planning 2022 is our time frame. And then that allows them to give us a chance for feedback. And specifically, this is what we want to see. So really, the earlier that we can get that, you know, Word document plus any supporting documents like a PowerPoint slide or two, the earlier that we can really start fleshing out the details. That's, you know, Kala, is there anything, you know, oh, and then an Excel sheet with like a budget, you know, a proposed budget. But even at this point, I think it might, I mean, perhaps we would come in with a budget, or, you know, and a lot more details. But I think the sooner that we can get in with the general idea and purpose, the further they can say, hey, this is what we actually want to see as a council and what they'll approve.
So as far as 2021's concerned, that's just off the docket. Like there's no us trying to promote some sort of event. And the only reason I ask that is because I feel like with social distancing, we have an opportunity to bring some of these events to life now, just because it's not we don't have to have all the security. It's not a socially distanced thing. Like if we can virtually have some sort of event that is, using Juneteenth or the Latinx, and you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, is there any way for us to push this forward for this year, just to start to get it in people's minds, especially, and I say this because of like all of the movements we've had in this last year. It's been a crazy year. And so for us to be able to use this momentum, and by use, I just mean, we'll use and get on, keep it current and in everyone's minds. Is it possible to do that if we just did something virtual, or if it was just something that we sent out in email blasts, just to keep it in people's heads, and then next year is more of an in-person socialized event?
I would concur with that. I think that we have a lack of overhead if we do something virtually, and that helps us build momentum for an in-person event, and also helps us make the case to say that we have an active audience here, and we have people who are willing to participate. We have, speakers. We can get people aligned quickly. So I'm in support of that. I think that's a great idea if it's possible.
One of the things that I've learned with, and Fred, John, Jennifer could pipe in on this, is that doing something virtual through the existing channels that we have with TV Tacoma for the events that we are representing virtually this year, there's a cost. I mean, and the budget, we don't really have. We have such a tight budget for both of those events, and we spent for both of those events, we're spending the full budget. It wasn't it was reduced because we had to reduce the budget in every department for everything we were doing in 2020. And I'm happy to share those budgets with you so you can see what the money went to. But there were community members who were contracted for videography and for writing and for photography and editing and that sort of thing. And then Fred takes it from there and he creates the MLK program. John takes it from there and he creates the City of Destiny Awards program. So there was definitely a cost associated with it. Now, that said, if there's another way of putting on a virtual event with very low to no cost, I think a proposal is in order to see how that would play out, because I don't do it all as staff. I hire Jennifer as an event manager for the two events that we already are doing. And then we turn it over to TV Tacoma to finish that. And remember, it's a government access TV channel. And so there are some protocols and there are some consistent steps that we have to go through when we use that. But I just wanted to mention that. So keep that in mind.
Would there be an opportunity to do, it should be completely free when you, consider staff time, but for an event like Juneteenth and even like a Latinx celebration and Indigenous celebration types of events, would there be an opportunity, just as Jessica mentioned, to harness some of this momentum and at least do a social media campaign where we solicit folks to share their stories over this event, where we can just put it out on social media completely free? For instance, at the ballet, we're doing an event where we can't do Nutcracker, and that's a tradition for thousands in this community and millions across the world. So we're asking our audience members and our dancers to share their stories as we lead up to the 25th of December. So maybe something like that, where we can compile stories, compile videos of folks sharing their connection to this, so that we can prime an audience for a celebration in 2020 or 2022.
Yeah, Alicia, Jessica, you guys have convinced me, especially in the wake of George Floyd's death, and the care coordinating team that has been assembled, and appointed by the mayor. Certainly, there's a lot of support from our city council and mayor behind this. Let's create a subcommittee, between now and the next meeting, where there's going to be, some of these details that we're talking about, like the how and the what, can kind of get fleshed out. But I think thank you so much for, that's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to say this before I forget, but sorry.
Oh, no, of course. Adela, please.
I was just going to say, I wanted to just go back to the idea. Now, this would take a lot of thought and strategy, but the idea of taking over a social media account. I mean, what if we had some of the, like the Black leaders of Tacoma, or people that, that understand, like the guidelines, right? We can't just have a random person just post anything out there, because they'd be on like a city associated page. But what if we could do something like that with various leaders of Tacoma who were Black for Juneteenth, and have them sort of take over the account with guidelines, or approved types of messages, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to solicit that type of like if we can solicit that type of thing where we don't just put it out to everybody. It would be kind of like a targeted type of campaign.
I think it'd be very interesting to try to bring that all together to see what kind of events Tacoma wants. So if we can get a social media page for us together, and then be able to put content out there that is for all of these different events, and just to see, and not like any event is better or worse than the other, less or more important, but just to see what Tacoma really picks up on, what they want to see happen. I think would be great to do it on a social media basis right now, just virtually, so that then we can start planning more for 2022. Like, this is really what the people want to see, so we can bring it to them.
Perfect.
Chris, would you
Jessica,
recognize
Stephanie?
Stephanie? Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I kept trying to get in there. I wasn't sure how to do that.
You're too polite.
No, I think actually, just a pause. Actually, that's probably best over a Zoom meeting. In person, we might be able to do this a little bit better, but perhaps I'll kind of recognize who the person next is going to speak, and yeah, that's perfect. Stephanie.
Okay, so great suggestions. I love using the social media aspect of it. I think that's great. I think it's simple, right? That we can get information out there and get the interest built up. I do want to, I think Adela said that it is important that we do connect with like the Black Collective, right? Groups that to tell us, we don't want to just put it out there thinking this is how it should be done. We want to make sure we check in with those groups to make sure this is the correct information we're putting out there, because that would be important to a group like that, right? With the leaders, the African American community leaders who actually run that group, would be interested in how that information is being disseminated. So, but great suggestions. I support all of it and would like to be a part of the committee.
That's perfect. Stephanie, thank you so much. Is there anyone else before, I have I believe Cal, I'll ask for a motion to form a subcommittee, and then we'll kind of vote to put it in. Perfect. Okay. Luis?
Yeah, I want to second Stephanie's comment. I think it's really important to engage community groups who are already doing these type of celebrations. We are a city-sponsored commission or committee. We don't have to start these things from scratch. Like, there's already groups in the community who are doing these celebration. I just did a quick Google search on like Tacoma Juneteenth celebration, and a few groups already popped up. So like, I think we need to think about how to effectively introduce new celebrations. And for me, the easiest low barrier type of way of starting is to connecting with organizations that are already doing it. It may look like us just providing our fundraising capabilities to them at first. And then we also have to be aware of whether those groups may want us to be part of that or not, right? Like, we represent, I know we represent our communities, but we also are now working on behalf of a city. And that's not always that great for those communities. So, so we need to be aware of that, how that optics and the reception of that. But I think the best, most I guess, gentle way of doing this is, or more open way of doing this is to actually reach out to those groups who are already doing it and engage them in the process. So this is our interest. We want to support you in putting these events together. We recognize the importance of these events and we want to be of help. How can we help you succeed at that? And then we might look like just partners instead of being the main organizers of those events. So does that make sense?
I agree with Luis hands down, because I think it's really important. If there is someone who's put a lot of time and effort into events like this, like that we do support them and we acknowledge the effort and time that they've already put into it. And also just the backing, because that would give us, you know, a broader range of people that are dedicated and willing to participate in what we're trying to build. So yes, I agree with that completely.
Luis and Jessica, thank you guys so much. We have a committee of 9 people. The maximum amount of people that can be on this board is going to be 4. I'm going to ask for a motion to form this subcommittee.
I first.
I second it.
Perfect. So I heard Jessica was first, second was Alicia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed signify by saying nay. Perfect. The ayes have it. In addition to Stephanie being on the committee, do I have any other volunteers?
I'd like to volunteer as well.
All
Me
right,
too.
Louise.
I would as well.
Alicia, and then did I see Jessica?
Yep.
Perfect. That's the 4. Will our next meeting, if I'm Kala, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be January 13th, or is it the 20th?
Hold on.
That sounds right.
Does sound right. It's the 3rd Wednesday,
It's the 20th.
yeah.
3rd Wednesday is the 20th. Please just have some form of an update ready by the 13th. That'll be the 5 W's, right? Who, what, where, when, why, how, for what you think that should be, the Juneteenth event should be. And in addition, I think it's important to capture kind of our next agenda item. How is this going to be different than our MLK event? And just kind of throw in there, hey, what is the awardee selection process? You don't have to have it done for MLK by next meeting, but I'll just kind of throw that as part of your workload that, hey, this is something that we just kind of need to get done. How are we going to decide as a committee, what's the matrix going to be for MLK? But that'll also kind of separate out, hey, how are these 2 events different? Kala?
Chair Chris, I wanted to, this is where I wanted to step in and remind you that, or announce that we are sending out a link to the online nomination form for City of Destiny Awards in about a week or so, or maybe it's a week and a half. And Tammy's helping me with the social media side of that. We already have a news release ready to go out, and I've already created the online form that nominators would use to submit their nominations. And I think I gave that to Tammy to proof for me before it is ready to go up on the site. One of the things that I would like to do in the future is, instead of it always being the voice of the city in this nomination form, this particular subcommittee could be the subcommittee that, that drafts this. I was just running out of time and I needed to get it out there. And it's nothing different than what we've used in the past. I just tightened it up and put it on SurveyMonkey instead of that old clunky form. So that is really ready to go after Christmas. And you will all get an opportunity to share that to your social media, to email blast it out to everyone that you know. I expect there to be quite a lot of nominations this year, seeing how successful were in getting over 6 nominations for MLK. We usually only get 2. I'd like to see that increase exponentially over the next couple of years. So this matrix process, you would use it in probably February, at the February meeting, if not before. The deadline for application or nominations is February 8th. That's a Monday. So that's a week and a half before your February meeting.
Sure. I'll have sorry, Calla, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope, I'm done. That was it. I just wanted to add that.
So I still say for that subcommittee, add just MLK, not City of Destiny Award dinner. I think with that tight of a timeline, Adela, could you and a draft, just a draft, hey, this is the awardee selection process just for the next meeting. We'll run it past everyone here, and then you guys can give us your feedback and we can vote on it if appropriate at that point. Does Adela, I'm getting a nod from you, Calla.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can put together a straw man for you, and then you can look at it together, but I also wouldn't mind pair of fresh eyes. I think Luis was the one who brought this up originally. So if you want to review, I mean, I can put a straw man together in the next week or so. Because I just really like that idea. We just have, again, you guys all have such fresh ideas that, you're making me step up a little bit and do a little bit more better work. So thank you for that. So I want to do what I can to support you in that and not put it off too much longer, because I think starting out with the City of Destiny Awards actually would be good, because there's so many nominations that you have to go through. There are so many, right?
Do you want me to take the first stab at the? I can take.
Oh
the first
yeah,
stab and
absolutely. You're familiar with it, and then just send it to me and Chris and Luis, and we'll all, right? That's the way to do it. Yeah, you just voted to have a subcommittee, so I put all your names down.
And the reason why I'm volunteering is because this is, literally what I do for a living in talent acquisition, just making sure that every candidate gets, they have perceived fairness, but that they also have an equitable shot at being compared to the baseline for the job qualifications. And
fabulous.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Perfect. And then we'll send out perhaps some non-committal language that hey, this is kind of our draft framework until we approve it next meeting. Review, did anyone have anything else to say about awardee selection processes? So next one, review other CBC missions. Did you have any, Calla, did you have anything to say under that agenda item?
It's quite possible that was generated because of me, no?
Yeah.
Okay. I can speak a little bit about that.
Perfect.
So I think this is aligned with my think process of our mission. Again, I don't see our committee as being the one that creates celebrations. We are amplifying what is already in our city. So we're amplifying the voices and cultures of people who already exist in our city. And as such, I was interested in looking at other commissions from the city who are already doing this type of work of celebrating either through their lived experiences, so like the Commission of Immigrants and Refugee Affairs, or through their profession, like the Arts Commission, looking at what type of events they host and seeing how we can align kind of our strengths or our expertise in this committee to make those celebrations easier for them. We can partner with them, kind of leverage what we do to make their celebrations even more either more efficient or more public, more successful. And so I had in my interview a disclaimer. I basically told the committee as much. I am interested in aligning with the Commission of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, who is tasked with putting together Welcoming Week, and just seeing how this committee can help them successfully do this, and leveraging our talent to do that. So I think what that looks like effectively is us reaching out to those committees or commissions in the city and have them be invited to our meetings and give a brief presentation on what events they host, and sort of what opportunities there are for us to be plugged into those processes. So
I have a question about that, because it sounds really like I love that idea, but where are we able to, because what it seems like, you know, I'm all about like amplifying organizations and groups and their voices and using like the resources that we have, but will the city allow us to do certain things like that? Because in a way, this committee would be serving as like a fiscal sponsor, or not a fiscal sponsor, like a sponsor to these events versus the city running these events. And I don't know if that's going to like dip into like gift of public funds, because it's going to utilize city staff time for an event that's not necessarily a city hosted event. So I'm wondering where that legalities of that come into play, or if they do at all.
Sure, great
That's
question.
just my question.
Thanks, Alicia. Luis, thanks for your, I don't see, did Luis drop out right there? Is he still
No, I'm
here?
here, but my battery is running low, so I had to turn off some things. I'm rushing to get my battery plugged in.
That makes sense.
That's an excellent point, Alicia. I don't know the answer to that, of course. I think staff would be able to kind of guide us through that process, both on the events and recognition, but also in the other commissions. They also have staff that can help us kind of figure out where we can do things the right way. I guess my proposal is not to just kind of trailblaze through the process. Is just look at how we can better do this in the right way, for sure.
Yeah.
What is possible, what is not possible.
Yeah, I think it's I think to step back just a little bit, Alicia, what I was thinking is that you know, again, you can do some research and do some proposal development about how you would interact, and then, like everything else, you know, if you're asking permission based on what the standards already are, you might get an answer that you don't like. But if you propose changes to the system that are allowable, so yeah, staff would have to, and honestly, nobody's ever asked this question before, so I don't have an answer. And I think that's great. I think we need to use the resources that we have, the clerk's office, the city manager's office, you know, my colleagues in Tacoma Venues and Events, and find ways to leverage, you know, all of the great knowledge and everything that's within those. And there is a person in the city manager's office who's assigned to helping to develop and to improve the processes of the city, the committees, boards, and commissions. So I'm gonna make it my job to look into that with her. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Calla. Luis, what you said the Immigrant Affairs Office. What office was that again that you had mentioned specifically?
The commission, the Arts Commission.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But there's also the board, the Commission on Immigrants Rights.
It's Commission of Immigrants and Refugee Affairs.
Right.
Yeah. So again, and I guess we are in an exploratory phase, as it's evident with the new events that we're trying to propose as well. So this is not my agenda item is not set in stone. It definitely is open for discussion and everyone kind of providing input on how that looks like. Actually, also not look like we're financially sponsoring any of their events because they also have a budget to put these together. It might be us kind of advising them to reach out to a particular event location, or if they can't put together a particular event, then we could kind of take over and see how we can incorporate it into our schedule. So it's just kind of coordinating with them and seeing what is the best fit for both committees. Again, in an effort to not be always creating new events and just trying to find what's already existing and amplifying that. I think that it might be the easiest way for our event docket to grow in a more sustainable way, where we're not responsible for every single thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to table kind of further discussion about it until another meeting, just in the interest of time today. Luis, me, you, and Stephanie can kind of talk about the new member handbook and maybe the best way to kind of playbook that process on how to, I just counted, there's 32 different, one of them being Commission on Immigrants and Refugee Affairs throughout the city. Probably not all of them, we need to have come to our meeting and give us a presentation, but certainly some of them are going to be great. So we'll kind of play, kind of see, hey, this is how we're going to operationalize that plan. So next, MLK, I think it's John, right? Who's going to kind of give us an update on the reminder of TV Tacoma.
Fred and Jennifer, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for waiting.
No problem. Fred, I don't know if I'll start just really quick and say that Fred's working really hard right now, editing all the pieces together. We have most of the video elements. We're still waiting on, I think, 2 things from the production group. But Fred is recording actively. Recorded part of the mayor's pieces last week. He's recording the award recipients tomorrow, and a few other things. So he's editing away, utilizing the pieces of video that we have. And I actually just sent an email asking for an update on when the others should be here, just also in editing. So I feel like it's all coming together, but it's really all on Fred's plate right now, or to a large degree on Fred's plate, to get it all stitched together into a fantastic program. So Fred, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. She pretty much said it all, but I've created a project in our editing system, and right now all the pieces that are completed, I'm dropping into that timeline. So far, well, what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling footage to put together the Harold Moss tribute. I taped with the mayor. She's done the introduction to the award recipients, and that's all done. And as Jennifer mentioned, tomorrow I go out and tape with the 3 award recipients. I've also taped with the MC. All those segments are all done, and I've dropped those into my timeline. I've created a template for the credits, and I'm working on those right now. And I've also created a template for all the name graphics, and I'm inputting those in. So a lot of pieces to this program, and just knocking them down one by one.
And then as a reminder too, there's time involved because we have to have the event closed captioned, so it has to go out for that service to be completed as well. I will also add that the mayor has pushed our timeline as far as she possibly could, and as far as Fred was comfortable with, to do her opening remarks as close to the event as possible, understanding all the other things that have to be done. Just because I think we all recognize in this climate that a lot of things can happen between now and January 18th. And so it was really important for her to not craft opening remarks. Thought it was really smart of her because, you know, people like Fred and I talk about deadlines, and she said to Calla and I one day, you know, I feel like if I record it now, I'm gonna make you redo it. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. Let's see how far out as close to the event as we can. So I believe she's recording on January 12th. Is that correct, Fred?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, and I'm working with, I'm horrible with names. Melanie
Harding.
Yeah.
In Mayor's office. Yeah.
Yep. On crafting her script for that welcome, knowing that some things may have to flex and change if anything material happens in the city between now and then. That's it.
Does everybody know that I mean, I guess you probably do, but I don't want to assume anything, that the premiere is at 8 p.m. on TV Tacoma, Facebook Live, and tvtacoma.org. Right, Fred? Am I getting that right?
Yes, tvtacoma.com.
Oh, you have a .com.
We have a .com and a .org.
Oh, okay. So please put that on your calendars to at least try and watch. And, you know, if you guys want to work on your own to put together a watch party or something through your own Facebook, that's fine. I don't know how to do that myself. So, but whatever you'd like to do. And I sent you, I don't know if you've all had a chance to look at it, but I sent you the news release about the announced award recipients today. So thanks for the work that was done on that. Yep. That's all I
have.
That's off the watch party.
Sorry,
Jen?
Chris. I was just going to add that all of the video elements I've watched everything that got put into the shared drive, and the program is going to be really good. It's really good. I'm super pleased with it.
It's very uplifting.
That was a great. After this meeting, if anybody has any additional help to help me get a watch party going, that was like the coolest thing that I like. Man, what a great idea for all of us to be able to still kind of together but separate watch it. Thanks for the update, Fred and Jen. Thank you for your patience. You know, throughout this meeting. Wow, what a challenging year. Thanks for your help, truly and sincerely. So next, without further ado, public comment. Right. And after this, after the public comment, we'll have a chance to kind of open the floor for any additional agenda items that didn't make it. And then we'll and items for future agendas. But just this public comment, Jen, is there any public?
You do not have any public.
Great. Thank you. Open discussion. So yeah, not in the agenda. I'll open up the floor.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in. I've met most of you. My name is Kim Badier. I work with Calla, and I just wanted to give you all a huge shout out and thanks. Somebody mentioned earlier about the renewed energy of this committee, and it's super exciting. And I really, really appreciate that you're all volunteers. You've taken the time to do this on behalf of your fellow citizens. And I just, you know, silver linings of this challenging times, we're getting to do stuff like this, come together and do some great planning for 2021. So I'm super psyched for what's coming, and thank you so much, and happy holidays to all of you.
Hi, and this is
Thanks,
John
Kim.
Miller. I'm sorry. And I just really wanted to pop in and introduce myself because there's a lot of members here that haven't seen my face before. So I'm production coordinator here at TV Tacoma, and I focus on working a lot on the City of Destiny Awards and supporting the rest of the staff here. So I just wanted to put a face to the name, and then I'll turn my camera off so you just have the name.
John, I apologize for not getting you kind of introduced sooner, but thanks for doing this. John certainly has he's been at every single event. He's always there, and he's always the one extending our reach. So John, thanks again for introducing yourself.
My pleasure. Good to meet everyone.
Okay, I'll continue to kind of open the floor for about another 30 seconds or a minute, depending on the silence. Oh, Cal.
I wanted to tell you guys about a project that I have been working on and wanting to do since I started doing special events for the city. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I have a budget that I manage or coordinate that is about $103,000 per year that has been earmarked in the past for legacy events. And so the list of events include things like the Daffodil Festival, the 4th of July celebration, a lot of downtown centric things like First Night. And each of them came up with their ask of the council over decades. And we're talking decades here, you guys. So the Daffodil Parade is like 90 years old. And I think forever they've gotten funding, and nobody has ever said, except me and then Kim, nobody's ever said, why is there no competitive funding process for events? And so I put together a proposal based on how the Arts Commission does their funding. I just blatantly stole their process, and I made equity a stronger component for criteria. And this committee is the committee that will, and sorry, this is going to be a big hit, but this is going to be the committee that, along with some other staff people who work on events, that I work with as wonderful people that I work with as a team across all different departments, are going to be the selection panel. I don't know if it's going to be the full committee. I want to discuss that at a future meeting with you guys, but we want to kick this off next year. I don't want to keep spending money on things that people don't care about in Tacoma. I mean, it's just not the way and neither does the council. I mean, the council wants to move to a competitive process. And so I think that will not be a shock to them. It will be a shock. I mean, I've been telling event producers this for years, that someday, just get ready, this is going to happen. And I think that with this year of nobody doing events, that it's the perfect time to start a whole new way of looking at things and to make it spread across the whole city and not just downtown and not just the waterfront. So there you go. That's my open discussion item. So Kim and Adam, as soon as you approve my updated proposal, we're going to send that to the city manager's office, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll be ready to roll early in the new year. And to Cala's point, she's done a lot of incredible work on this, even though she says she stole it, or she flattered the other commission by imitating them. But no, it's a much fairer process, and it's also, I think, a great opportunity for you all to have even greater involvement in another really solid and worthwhile task.
And I just want to say, I know that some of you will want to, like Luis, I know you will want to apply for this funding. And so you just have to abstain from voting on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if you want to obtain funding for the Latinx Festival, which was one of the ones that we've been trying to engage with somehow, yeah, then you just abstain from voting. How's that? Right on.
And I just wanted to say a hi to our newest member. Is at
tell
Laura's
us.
house.
Laura, tell us the name and the
Hi. Oh, this is Sawyer Caroline. She's
Soy.
the youngest Cerc member.
So cute.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted there.
Oh, you are. We could hear
Oh,
the
she's
baby going,
gorgeous.
cooey, cooey, cooey. Sawyer?
Sawyer. Yep.
Caroline?
Caroline. Yep. Pet it.
Oh, that does sound like family names or something. That's wonderful. She's beautiful.
Oh,
She
thank
looks like you.
Oh, thanks. A little younger.
Awesome.
But thank you for having both of us.
Anytime. We've had babies at our meetings before. They're members of the public.
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, I
Public
apologize
comment.
for, oops, sorry, for being like going off and on video, but at this time of the day, my husband's gone and my dogs are crazy. So I've got to like be on the floor, but like also be professional. So that's why I'm going off and on video.
No problem. I like it. I love seeing the dogs. That's one of my favorite things about Zoom meetings or Teams meetings is that everybody has somebody in their life that they're sharing, you know, whether it's a cat walking across a keyboard or my dogs are always coming in and whining at me, or babies are the best part. So, yeah.
Well, it's 5:30, meaning we've passed an hour and a half. We're going to officially adjourn. Jen, I don't know if you can turn off recording, or actually, do I have to do a motion? Cal, I forget to adjourn. I'd like to entertain a motion for adjourning.
I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I second that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I got Luis and I think Alicia, if I heard correctly, as the second. Meeting is officially adjourned. And then I think we can. Oh, Rosie, thank you.